14 college football. We have Alabama versus Auburn in the 2019 Auburn. Alabama coming into this game 10-1. They're going to be on the road facing Auburn, who is 8-3 on the season. Now, this is a very big game for both of these teams because this is the Iron Bowl. Don't really need to describe this rivalry. And basically, Alabama needs to win this game by a good margin to improve their playoff resume so they can end up finding a way to get into the college football playoff, which has a very good chance of happening with Oregon going down last week to Arizona State. So now you don't have to worry about Oregon. Basically, the only team you really have breathing down your back really legitimately, you have Minnesota that's in there. They're still going to have to face off against Wisconsin. And then if they beat Wisconsin, they have to worry about facing Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Then you got to worry about Oklahoma. Oklahoma's down your trail. And you also got to worry about Utah. But I think if Alabama's able to beat Auburn by a considerable margin, then Georgia ends up losing to LSU, which a lot of people predict, which should happen. I can see Alabama sliding into that number 4 spot. And here's why. If they beat Auburn by 2 touchdowns or a considerable margin, they would beat a top 25 opponent. And that would be their second top 25 win of the season. You see, a lot of people, a couple of weeks ago, Alabama beat Texas A&M on the road in College Station. And Texas A&M was ranked 24th in the nation at that time. Now considering what Texas A&M is now at this point in the season, a lot of people might be like, oh, Texas A&M isn't good, this and that. Listen, it's still a ranked win regardless of not. It's an impressive resume. And if Alabama beats Auburn by a considerable margin, they'll have a win versus Texas A&M and a win versus Auburn, which would be 2 top 25 wins, which in my opinion is a stronger resume than Utah because Utah lost to a USC. So I don't see how you could potentially, if Utah ends up winning the Pac-12 championship, how you could leapfrog Utah over Alabama. And they lost to USC. It just wouldn't make no sense to me. Alabama has the best loss in the nation in terms of resume because they lost to LSU, who is currently arguably either the number 1 team or the second best team in college football, depending on what the rankings look like when they come out Tuesday. So, when you look at the losses, Alabama's loss is a lot better than a loss to USC. Now, the thing that the committee is going to take into account also is you got Oklahoma on the back of your tray as well. Now, Oklahoma has to play Oklahoma State, and they also have to play Baylor again in the Big 12 championship game. So, if Oklahoma is able to beat Oklahoma State and able to beat Baylor for the second time, then I think that can also be interesting as well. So, Alabama most definitely has to win this game. And not only do they have to win this game, but they have to win this game by a considerable margin. Now, Auburn, this is a very important game because this is a rivalry game. And also, at this point, we don't really know the status of Gus Malzahn. When it comes to Clay Helton and Gus Malzahn, you don't really know what to expect when it comes to seeing if they're going to keep their jobs or not at the end of the season. There's legitimate arguments about why Gus Malzahn should keep his job because basically Auburn has been in nearly every game they've played, and he has a freshman quarterback who has a lot of potential, and we can only suspect that Bo Nix is going to end up becoming better over the next couple of seasons. And also, he has had a couple of arguments that you can debate and say that Gus Malzahn shouldn't be the head coach of Auburn because Auburn simply can't get over the hump and they just can't compete and they can't beat teams like LSU and Alabama, which is understandable. So Gus Malzahn, this is a very big game for Gus Malzahn. It is, because basically if he loses this game by a big margin, then maybe you can look at Gus Malzahn and say, maybe it's time to part ways and go our separate ways. Now, I'm not saying that Gus Malzahn is going to end up being fired depending on how this game goes and whatnot. I'm just saying that how Gus Malzahn's job outlook, depending on how this game goes, will be viewed a lot differently depending on the outcome of this game. So that's why I think this is a very important game for Gus Malzahn and Auburn when it comes to looking at his status as the head coach. And also this is a big rivalry game. I mean, everybody wants to win this game. If you're Auburn, you might not be able to make it into the college football playoff, but this is a rivalry game. You still have a lot to play for. This is pride. This is a rivalry freaking game. If you're not excited and you're not able to, if this game doesn't get you going, if you're not excited to play this game, waking out of bed, and this game isn't on your mind, you're not excited to play this rivalry game, if you're on the Auburn team, then I don't think you have any business playing college football. Because in college football, you play to win, and you play for games like this. So although Auburn is 8-3, and it might seem like at this point their season is over, and they don't really have a lot to play for, this is a rivalry game. This is the Iron Bowl. This is what players in college football play college football for, the rivalry games. So trust me, Auburn is going to come out giving Alabama everything they can handle, and they're going to try to derail Alabama's playoff hopes, because what better would Auburn love to do to the rival than dethrone Alabama's college football playoff hopes? So looking at my keys to victory going into this game, honestly for Alabama, you're going to have to protect Mac Jones. And protecting Mac Jones is a big key to victory for me, because you're not having Tua Tagovailoa back there. You have Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones is a very solid quarterback. I think Mac Jones deserves a little bit more credit, because people keep on overlooking Mac Jones like he's not having the best wide receiving core to throw to and things like that. And I know the Tua Tagovailoa injury is significant, but I mean, come on, man. This man is throwing to Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs. I mean, you have Devonta Smith. So, I mean, this dude has arguably the best wide receiving core in all of college football. So I don't think it's going to be too hard to go back there and get the ball to those guys. And also you got Najee Harris in the backfield as well. What Alabama does have to be able to do is they're going to have to be able to protect Mac Jones, because this offensive line is going to be challenged by this defensive line of Auburn that's going to potentially have 2 top 15 picks on their defensive line. They have 2 defensive linemen that are going to end up being taken in the top half of the draft next year when the 2020 draft rolls around. So if you're Alabama, you're most definitely going to have to be able to protect Mac Jones and give him enough time to get the ball to those talented wide receivers that I just mentioned, Devonta Smith, Henry Ruggs, and all the other guys that they have. So the next thing they had to be able to do is they had to be able to get pressure on Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been terrible under pressure this season. When he gets under pressure, I mean, his accuracy is erratic. He can't hit wide receivers in stride. It's basically, if you get pressure on Bo Nix, you're either going to get a turnover or you're going to get an incomplete pass 70% of the time. So if you're Alabama and you're Nick Saban and you're the defensive coordinator of Alabama, you want to dial up a lot of blitzes and try to get as much pressure on Bo Nix as possible, because Bo Nix is going to make a lot of mistakes when he's under pressure. And when Bo Nix gets under pressure, he tends to either run with the football, try to make something out of nothing, which results in a turnover or a big sack, which ends up putting Auburn back a couple of yards due to Bo Nix's bad decision making. So if you're Alabama, you just need to get pressure on Bo Nix, try to force him to get a turnover, try to force him to run with the football, try to make something out of nothing, and try to get a couple of yards back if you're Alabama. So what Auburn has to be able to do to win this game is, first they need to pray to God that they can find some kind of offense, because it's Alabama. I don't know how you Auburn fans do it, how you're able to make it through a whole entire Auburn game, but I wouldn't be able to without breaking my TV, because watching this Auburn offense play is absolutely the equivalent to drinking bleach. It's painful to watch. And I mean, you can argue and say that drinking bleach is just as painful as watching Auburn's offense on the field with your own eyes. So one of the big keys they need to be able to do is Bo Nix has to play well. And they also need to pray to God that Bo Nix can complete some passes in this game and keep up with this Alabama offense. Because the Alabama offense is going to be able to score some points on this Auburn defense. Auburn's defense is going to be good enough to keep them in the game for a couple of quarters, but eventually they're going to have to be able to put up some points. And Bo Nix is going to have to play out of his freaking mind if Auburn wants to be able to win this game. And that's saying they have to be able to do it. They have to be able to limit the turnovers. Specifically, Bo Nix. The offense already sucks, so why would you put your defense in an even more terrible position and turn the ball over? So if Auburn wants to win this game, they need to limit the turnovers, not give the ball back to Alabama. You don't want to give Alabama any extra possessions considering how explosive their offense is, even without Tua Tagovailoa. Mac Jones and that wide receiving core, they can still do a whole lot of damage with Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and those boys and company. So, I mean, just because they don't have Tua Tagovailoa, I'm still not expecting a big drop-off in offense because this is the best wide receiving core in all college football. So, if you're Auburn, you need to limit the turnovers. You don't want to be giving Alabama any extra possessions. And also, limit the turnovers in the red zone. That's another thing. Bo Nix turns the ball over in the red zone a lot. And Auburn, my next key to the game is they have to be able to score in the red zone. When you go back to that Georgia game, man, they were not able to score in the red zone. When you go back to the LSU game, what was Auburn not able to do? They weren't able to score in the red zone. When you go back to the Florida game, what was Auburn not able to do? Score in the red zone. So the red zone has plagued Auburn for the whole entire season. Now, if Auburn is able to find success and score touchdowns in the red zone instead of kicking field goals to turn the ball over in the red zone, then they have a good chance of winning this game because the defense is going to keep them in this game for a good bit. But they're going to have to be able to score some points on the offense side of the ball. And that all starts with what they're able to do inside the red zone. Auburn has struggled in the red zone for most of the season. So the team now going with to win this game, I'm taking Alabama to win this game, which is a no-brainer. I think Alabama wins this game 28 or 31-17. Because, listen, I just don't see Auburn being able to muster that much offense. I think their defense is going to keep them in this game for a couple of quarters. But eventually, that Auburn offense is going to have to be able to score some points on the board. And considering the fact that this is something that Auburn has not been able to do basically the whole entire season, I strongly doubt they'd be able to put up more than 20 points in this game. So I'm going with Alabama to win this game. 31-17 is my final score prediction. Let me know who you guys think ends up winning this game down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.